Question 197. Which of the following is an offline tier optimized for storing data that is rarely accessed and that has flexible latency requirements? And the options are A. Infrequent tier, B. Cool tier, C. Archive tier, D. Hot tier. And the correct answer is option C. Archive tier. Explanation. Data stored in the cloud grows at an exponential pace. To manage cost for your expanding storage needs, it can be helpful to organize your data based on how frequently it will be accessed and how long it will be retained. Azure Storage offers different access tiers so that you can store your blob data in the most cost-effective manner based on how it's being used. Azure Storage access tiers include Hot tier, an online tier optimized for storing data that is accessed or modified frequently. The hot tier has the highest storage cost, but the lowest access cost. Cool tier, an online tier optimized for storing data that is infrequently accessed or modified. Data in the cool tier should be stored for a minimum of 30 days. The cool tier has lower storage cost and higher access cost compared to the hot tier. Archive tier, an offline tier optimized for storing data that is rarely accessed and that has flexible latency requirements on the order of hours. Data in the archive tier should be stored for a minimum of 180 days. Next question. It's possible to have multiple subscriptions inside a management group. And the options are A. No, B. Yes, and the correct answer is option B. Yes. Explanation. When you define your management group hierarchy, first create the root management group. Then move all existing subscriptions in the directory into the root management group. New subscriptions always go into the root management group initially. Later you can move them to another management group. What happens when you move a subscription to an existing management group? The subscription inherits the policies and role assignments from the management group hierarchy above it. Establish mini subscriptions for your Azure workloads. Then create other subscriptions to contain Azure services that other subscriptions share. Do you expect your Azure environment to grow? Then create management groups for production and non-production now, and apply appropriate policies and access controls at the management group level. As you add new subscriptions to each management group, those subscriptions inherit the appropriate controls. Next question. When you cancel an Azure subscription, a resource lock can block the subscription cancellation. Is it true or false? And the correct answer is false. Explanation. As an administrator, you can lock an Azure subscription, resource group, or resource to protect them from accidental user deletion and modifications. The lock overrides any user permissions. You can set locks that prevent either deletions or modifications. In the portal, these locks are called delete and read only. In the command line, these locks are called cannot delete and read only. In the left navigation panel, the subscription lock features name is resource logs, while the resource group lock features name is logs. If you have a delete lock on a resource and attempt to delete its resource group, the feature blocks the whole delete operation. Even if the resource group or other resources in the resource group are unlocked, the deletion doesn't happen. You never have a partial deletion. When you cancel an Azure subscription, a resource lock doesn't block the subscription cancellation. Azure preserves your resources by deactivating them instead of immediately deleting them. Azure only deletes your resources permanently after a waiting period. Next question. Your colleague is looking for an Azure service that can help them understand how their applications are performing and proactively identify issues that affect them and the resources they depend on. What's your recommendation? And the options are A. Azure Advisor, B. Azure Service Health, C. Azure Monitor, D. Azure Comprehend. And the correct answer is option C. Azure Monitor. Explanation. Azure Monitor helps you maximize the availability and performance of your applications and services. It delivers a comprehensive solution for collecting, analyzing, and acting on telemetry from your cloud and on-premises environments. This information helps you understand how your applications are performing and proactively identify issues that affect them and the resources they depend on. Azure Service Help notifies you about Azure Service incidents and planned maintenance so you can take action to mitigate downtime. Azure Comprehend is not an existing service. Azure Advisor helps to quickly and easily optimize your Azure deployments. Azure Advisor analyzes your configurations and uses telemetry and offers personalized, actionable recommendations to help you optimize your Azure resources for reliability, security, operational excellence, performance, and cost. Next question. Which of the following is the foundation for building enterprise data lakes on Azure and is built on top of Azure Blob Storage? And the options are A. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 3, B. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 4, C. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1, D. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. And the correct answer is option D. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. Explanation. Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 is a set of capabilities dedicated to big data analytics built on Azure Blob Storage. Data Lake Storage Gen 2 converges the capabilities of Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1 with Azure Blob Storage. For example, Data Lake Storage Gen 2 provides file system semantics, file level security, and scale. Because these capabilities are built on blob storage, you'll also get low-cost, tiered storage with high availability or disaster recovery capabilities. Next question. In a public cloud model, you get dedicated hardware, storage, and network devices than the other organizations or cloud tenants. And the options are A. Yes, B. No, and the correct answer is option B. No. Explanation. Public clouds are the most common type of cloud computing deployment. The cloud resources, like servers and storage, are owned and operated by a third-party cloud service provider and delivered over the internet. With the public cloud, all hardware, software, and other supporting infrastructure are owned and managed by the cloud provider. Microsoft Azure is an example of a public cloud. In a public cloud, you share the same hardware, storage, and network devices with other organizations or cloud tenants, and you access services and manage your account using a web browser. Public cloud deployments are frequently used to provide web-based email, online office applications, storage, and testing and development environments. Next question. Azure Pay-as-you-go is an example of which cloud expenditure model? And the options are A. Operational, OPEX, B. Capital, CAPEX, and the correct answer is option A. Operational. Explanation. One of the major changes that you will face when you move from on-premises cloud to the public cloud is the switch from capital expenditure, buying hardware, to operating expenditure, paying for service as you use it. However, this switch also requires more careful management of your cost. Next question. Which of the following services can you use to calculate your estimated hourly or monthly cost for using Azure? And the options are A. Azure Cost Management, B. Azure Pricing Calculator, C. Azure Total Cost of Ownership TCO Calculator, D. Azure Calculator. And the correct answer is option B. Azure Pricing Calculator. Explanation. You can use the Azure Pricing Calculator to calculate your estimated hourly or monthly cost for using Azure. Azure TCO, on the other hand, is primarily used to estimate the cost savings you can realize by migrating your workloads to Azure. Next question. Dash is a security framework that uses the principles of explicit verification, least privileged access, and assuming breach to keep users and data secure, while allowing for common scenarios like access to applications from outside the network perimeter. And the options are A. No trust, B. Zero trust, C. Least trust, D. Less trust. And the correct answer is option B. Zero trust. Explanation. Zero trust is a security framework that doesn't rely on the implicit trust afforded to interactions behind a secure network perimeter. Instead, it uses the principles of explicit verification, least privileged access, and assuming breach to keep users and data secure, while allowing for common scenarios like access to applications from outside the network perimeter. App developers can improve app security, minimize the impact of breaches, and ensure that their applications meet their customers' security requirements by adopting zero trust principles. Next question. When a blob is in the archive access tier, what must you do first before accessing it? And the options are A. Add it to a new resource group, B. Move it to file storage, C. Rehydrate it, D. Modify its policy. And the correct answer is option C. Rehydrate it. Next question. Is it possible for you to run both Bash and PowerShell based scripts from the Azure Cloud Shell? And the options are A. Yes, B. No, and the correct answer is option A. Yes. Explanation. Azure Cloud Shell is an interactive, authenticated, browser-accessible shell for managing Azure resources. It provides the flexibility of choosing the shell experience that best suits the way you work, either Bash or PowerShell. Next question. Each zone is made up of one or more data centers equipped with common power, cooling, and networking. Is it true or false? And the correct answer is it's false. Explanation. Azure availability zones are unique physical locations within an Azure region and offer high availability to protect your applications and data from data centers' failures. Each zone is made up of one or more data centers equipped with independent power, cooling, and networking. Next question. An dash is a collection of policy definitions that are grouped together towards a specific goal or purpose in mind. And the options are A. Azure Bundle, B. Azure Collection, C. Azure Initiative, D. Azure Group. And the correct answer is option C. Azure Initiative. Explanation. An Azure Initiative is a collection of Azure policy definitions that are grouped together towards a specific goal or purpose in mind. Azure Initiatives simplify management of your policies by grouping a set of policies together as one single item. For example, you could use the PCI DSS built-in initiative, which has all the policy definitions that are centered around meeting PCI DSS compliance. Similar to Azure Policy, initiatives have definitions, a bunch of policies, assignments, and parameters. Once you determine the definitions that you want, you would assign the initiative to a scope so that it can be applied. Next question. Subscriptions can be moved to another management group as well as merged into one single subscription. And the options are A. No, B. Yes, and the correct answer is option A. No. Explanation. Even though subscriptions can be moved to another management group, they cannot be merged into one single subscription. Next question. Each virtual network can have only one VPN gateway. And the options are A. No, B. Yes, and the correct answer is option B. Yes. Explanation. VPN gateway sends encrypted traffic between an Azure virtual network and on-premises location over the public internet. You can also use VPN gateway to send encrypted traffic between Azure virtual networks over the Microsoft network. A VPN gateway is a specific type of virtual network gateway. Each virtual network can have only one VPN gateway. However, you can create multiple connections to the same VPN gateway. When you create multiple connections to the same VPN gateway, all VPN channels share the available gateway bandwidth. What is a VPN gateway? When you configure a virtual network gateway, you configure a setting that specifies the gateway type. The gateway type determines how the virtual network gateway will be used and the actions that the gateway takes. The gateway type VPN specifies that the type of virtual network gateway created is a VPN gateway. This distinguishes it from an express route gateway, which uses a different gateway type. A virtual network can have two virtual network gateways, one VPN gateway and one express route gateway. For more information, see gateway types. Thank you for watching this video. Buy our AZ 900 premium questions with 50% off. Check link in the description.